And let's think about how the virus is impacting the way we do work. It's forced seismic lifestyle changes upon many of us, of course, from new shopping and hygiene habits to self-isolation and social distancing. Many of the jobs once thought impossible to do remotely are now being done from home. And while governments and central banks talk of extraordinary times and extraordinary measures, some are considering which parts of the current upheaval may become more ordinary. Matthew Taylor is Chief Executive of the RSA and former chair of the Review of Modern Employment under Theresa May's government in the UK. And he joins us on Skype, of course, such is the way of things these days, to discuss. Matthew, really good to speak to you today. So when we think about the way that life has changed in the very immediate fight against the virus, which of these new habits do you think will live with us longer? What will really be changed in the way we work by this virus?
So I think when change happens, it happens because three things work together. First is that there's a kind of underlying reason for change. So, you know, there'll be various things we do in this pandemic which are simply one-off responses to this crisis, and they will go when the crisis ends. But if there's been an underlying reason for change, then a crisis can provide momentum. It can be the kind of catalyst. And then the third thing you need, so you need an underlying reason, you need a crisis which precipitates change, and then you need a new way of doing things which is kind of realistic. You need to embed it in new policies. So to take kind of a lifestyle example and then take a policy example. So a lifestyle example or a business example is long-distance business travel. Now, before the crisis, there were already reasons for people to question whether or not they needed to fly around the world to undertake kind of business meetings and transactions. So there was the cost of it. There was the fact that more and more organizations wanted to say they were doing something about climate emissions. And of course, you know, first class, business class travel is very problematic in terms of carbon emissions. And also, you know, as we're seeing now, as we have our conversation, the technology for online conferencing has got better. So you had all of that happening. Then you have the crisis, which means that people stop traveling for business. Now, psychologists tell us it takes about 6 to 8 weeks for a habit to be embedded. So we're all going to have enough time for the habit to be embedded of undertaking our business conversations in the way that you and I are speaking now. And I suspect we will never return to the same level of global airline business travel as we had before.